Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brittany Reneé Experience. Today, we have an incredible guest with an incredible story. So, I hope you are prepared and ready to just have your mind blown by how far this guest has come and just her beauty, her radiance, and her energy. We have Bali Rodriguez on with us today. This is a former model and actress who has gone through her spiritual awakening. She has really figured out who she is at soul level, and she has gone through many dark nights and has come out on the other side ready to share this new version, this new avatar of self. So, Bali, welcome.
Everyone, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a blessing and an honor to be here. Thank you, Brittany, for inviting me. It's like, oh, I think I told you it's my first podcast, so I'm very
Yay.
excited. Um, yeah, so I guess we're here to share a crazy, funky, kind of dangerous story, you know?
Yeah.
I was always known for being very, very extreme, like extreme, like it was always black and white and like very, very extreme levels of black and white in my life. But I don't know, like I'm a Leo. I was born August 8th, like my full like gate opener, lion gate opener. Or
Yes.
I always was very like I never had fear. I was always fearless. I don't know, like but I had rage, like now that I look back, like there was so much rage inside of me in the beginning of my life, but it all comes back to a very, very difficult childhood. I was born very sick, because my mother took a bunch of medications when I was
Hmm.
in the womb, and uh that kind of scaled me to like being very sick from youth. And then I was kind of like Asperger, but they didn't know it was Asperger when I was like young, and I had suicidal tendencies and all these. I was a weirdo. And so people in school would bully me because they didn't understand me and all this stuff. And anyways, I think that whole thing like grew me into rage, and I was not born in a clean body. I wasn't
Yeah.
born in a clean body. I was full of medication. They were antidepressives, and my mother had a maniac bipolar thing, and so she took all these medications, and she was very depressed when she gave birth to me. So I've had to work through all of this, you know.
Yeah.
It was very hard, but yeah, but they basically kind of threw me into like a rage in my life and made me who I am in the end. Like I'm still grateful about all this, hurtful experiences that I went through, because I mean that definitely is what made me go out into the world. And I remember I was like 12 years old, and I told my parents, listen, just wait till I'm 18. I'm leaving the house. I will not be here by the time I'm 18. I'm leaving. Hated being home. I mean, I hated my childhood. And so actually it happened that I met a Australian model in Costa Rica. I was 15 years old and he was 27, and we fell in love.
Oh,
And
I love a love story.
yeah, we fell in love. And I mean, yeah, my mother had been Miss Costa Rica here in Costa Rica. And so she kind of started me modeling when I was young, but then I started getting baby fat and whatever. So we stopped. And then 15 years old, I'm kind of looking better, and then I was already kind of doing a lot of drugs by then. And then I meet this guy, this Australian model. I didn't know he was like a super model, like Australian guy, right? I had no clue, but I met him here at the beach, and we kind of like hit it off. And I don't know, I was very unsure. He was like very much older than he had kind of already gone around the world when we met. But I don't know, we kind of clicked. And so in the end, I was having trouble with my mom and my dad. My dad was kind of not present during those times of my life. And so um I don't know, like my mom and I had this horrendous fist fight, like literally, like fist
Mm.
fight, simply because she was mad at that I hadn't like fixed my room or something. Like she had one of her like bipolar moments, and I was literally in the computer with my boyfriend, with Julian at that time, and I don't know, she just came in and she started hitting me and because I hadn't like fixed up my room, and I was like, I don't know, I was a teenager, and I just got up and I punched her back, and then we started on this fight. And of course, this was the only time this ever happened. I mean, now she's like my best friend, but we
It was
went
a
through a fight.
breaking point.
Yeah, yeah. And so we had this fight. My boyfriend Julian had to separate us, and I had actually asked 3 months before this happened. I asked my parents and I told them, listen, I'm doing a lot of drugs. I would like to get off of school because all my friends are doing too many drugs and I'm doing too many drugs now. And I think they kind of didn't believe me. My mom did believe me, but my dad kind of denied it. And so I told them I would like to go move to Australia with Julian because he invited me to go to Australia with him. But I had to get a visa and I was 15 years old, right? So of course they said no, like you're 15 years old. And so, I was kind of bummed out. And then this kind of tension with my mom started building up, and then this huge fight, we punched each other, and it was kind of horrendous. But that's actually the reason why my dad basically got pissed off, and he's like, okay, come on, how is this happening? This is like a telenovela, like a soap opera, come on, guys, what's going on? And so basically told me, I'll pay for your visa, get out of here, and so I moved actually with Julian to the beach, to actually a south, very beautiful like jungle area here in Costa Rica. Nothing around. It kind of was good for me because I detoxed a bit. And I was able to kind of clean up and get through, whatever paperwork I had to do for my visa. And then we ended up moving to Australia. I was 16 years old. Um, and so I'm in Australia and I'm living with this guy. Like, I had never lived with a guy. I didn't even know how to cook eggs for myself or anything. I didn't know how to like wash
Oh,
clothes or anything. So it was kind of like an impactful moment. And then I basically had to, he told me, he's like, well, we need to pay bills. So we need to get you doing something. And I mean, of course he had been a model. So he's like, okay, let me teach you like what you got to do. So it was kind of rough because he was a little hard on me. Like, now that I go back, he was a little hard on me on like, because I still had baby fat. I was a teenager. I didn't have a perfect body. I was kind of chunky because I was very tomboyish. And so it took me a while, and I went through all these kind of like diet testings because I was trying to like find a diet that I could eat as much as I want, but that I had to be as skinny as possible, right? So I went through all these yo-yo diets or whatever, and then I found a couple in Australia, and they were like a raw food couple. And so that's where I learned how to do raw vegan food. And I was like, wow, I love this. And I can eat as much as I want. And I'm skinny. And then all I have to do is work out. So that was like that was the beginning of me becoming vegan. And well, actually went with this boyfriend, Julian, he actually taught me how to be pescatarian. So first I started pescatarian, and then I started going to the raw vegan diet or the vegan diet and vegetarian diet. And so that's where my modeling started. And I mean, I lived in Sydney, Australia for 2.5 years. I mean, my career was kind of slow because I was building a portfolio, but then we decided to move to Miami. So we lived in Miami, and then that's where my career started exploding. I was doing a lot of money on catalogs, like lingerie catalogs, TV commercials, anything commercial, I was on it.
I love it.
So because I was not obviously not, I was not a catwalk model. I'm not very tall, but I was an excellent photo model. So I did very well there. And so basically, I don't know, like I believed a lot in myself. My agency in Miami was like, oh no, we don't want you to go to Europe, and we don't think you're gonna make it in Europe, and blah blah blah. And I was like, you kidding me? I'm going.
You're like, tell me no, and I'm buying my ticket.
Exactly. And that's how I did. I did buy my ticket. And because I mean, my boyfriend wanted to go to Europe. I mean, he had agencies already in Europe. And so we ended up going to Europe anyway. And so I'm in Europe, and I'm like, okay, so I'm here. Find me an agency. So they didn't like that. But I guess I was making them a lot of money with catalogs back then. And so they kind of didn't want me to go further
Right.
my career, but I ended up getting agencies all over Europe, Milano, Spain, everywhere there. I mean, and so, it had just kind of exploded after that. I mean, the career was, wonderful. I loved it. I was able to kind of build a huge portfolio in Europe, and then I moved back to, and I moved to New York City for the first time in 2006, like 2006, yeah, 2006, and that's where like my career like went to another level. And then I became like a top commercial model in New York, and I was making like my modeling day rate was like 5K a day for any shoot.
Wow.
um and Victoria's Secret models start at 7 grand a day, so I was very close. And then my agency actually almost on 2007 we had a contract for me to start Victoria's Secret catalog, but unfortunately I lost the momentum of my career in the 2008 crisis. So um, that's where I kind of spiraled down, like again in depression and doing a lot of cocaine. Like I always did cocaine, and I always did all these other drugs, and I partied and I experienced. I was always all about, I want to experience life to the maximum. I didn't care what I had to do. I was never afraid, So yeah, I mean, I partied a lot, like all models did, like,
Right.
you get taken out like with promoters to the best clubs and stuff. But there was points in my life where I just used drugs to go down the hole, just
Right.
to kind of like binge on my depression, or, and so I lost the momentum of my career. I was almost about to become a Victoria's Secret model. Back in those days, it was like the best Victoria's Secret model. I mean, now it's changed a lot. And it kind of hit me hard. I lost the contract a lot. I mean, all New York models in 2008, almost all of us went broke. So I lost my apartment. I lost everything. I had to call Costa Rica, call my dad, and I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm broke. So it's kind of like after building my career for like 15 years or something, it was like a big hit, It's like I was already there. But so then I ended up like, binging on cocaine again a lot. And then I moved back to Costa Rica. And my dad helped me set up a modeling agency. So I opened actually the first I pioneered the first modeling agency in this country to actually help models here have international careers. So no one here in Costa Rica knew
Incredible.
how models had portfolios. No one knew anything. Like they didn't know how to build a real model. It was actually, if I hadn't been taken by the Australian model into the whole business, I mean, I would have never known how to start. So it was thanks to him. And so I ended up opening this modeling agency. It was called Unique Model Management. And I loved it. I had that agency for like 9 years. And I sent models all over the world. And that was a very successful kind of business. Um, and then I decided to close it in 2015. I was with another boyfriend that was as junky as I was. And we were just like Guns N' Roses, just full on like drugs and rock and roll all day. And it was like one of the strongest love stories. Like it was just chemical, like just so incredible.
Romeo
Hard to,
and Juliet.
yeah, it was like like one of those like heartbreaking, but just like so chemically like explosive relationships. And uh but I had to end it because we were both like just destroying each other. And so I moved back to New York, and I was like, okay, so I closed the agency. I was tired. I was tired of dealing with the market here. It was actually very hard. I mean, people didn't understand what it's like to have a modeling contract. They didn't like it. They wanted to be independent. And they, I had to go against the flow. I mean, people were used to seeing just models giving out like flyers on malls and things like that, not like doing actual jobs. And I fought for models to actually have big day rates here. Like, I mean, one of Costa Rica's like top models nowadays, I mean, I used to get for her like $1,000 for a catwalk here in Costa Rica. And that was like unheard of. But then anyways, I had some other starting competing agencies, and they started doing everything for free and running the market and blah, blah, blah. So like I kind of started getting tired of it. And I never stopped to heal my own depression. I just kept going,
Kept pushing.
kept pushing, kept pushing, kept pushing. And I just ignored everything that I was feeling, right? On all the pressure. And even this huge responsibility of opening an agency and now providing for others and all of this. So it just became like a huge deal. And anyways, I moved back to New York. My agency's like, oh, great, Bali, we love you. But now you got to do social media. And I'm like, I mean, you're kidding me. Like I have a great portfolio. Why do I have to start from scratch? They're like, well, now clients, they want to see followers. And I'm like, what? I'm like, Jesus, like I can't believe I have to start over. And so anyways, I started doing social media, but I hated it. I was tired, like I had already reached the top. I mean, going back to the top again is going to require way too much effort. And I was tired. I was just like done. And so I tried. The first 2 years in New York were kind of good. Like I got work and everything, but then you had to drag me to castings. You had to drag me, and you had to drag me to do posts and social media. I don't know. It wasn't my thing. And so I don't know, like this is where I started kind of like feeling like I was not in the right place anymore. I was already beginning my 30s, and I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna study acting. So I went and studied acting, right? And I was great at it. I was always great. Um, and my teacher loved me, and he wanted me to stay and everything. But I just knew, like, I don't want to, like, I already did the whole modeling, and then the model agent. And then now if I want to be an actress, I have to, dive deeper into the bullshit again. And so I was just like, I know I'm not going to do this. I don't want to move to LA. And then, like, I didn't have money. I was not getting work because I wasn't like happy going to castings, and I didn't have many followers. I was like starting to freak out. I didn't have money. So, I don't know. Then I started doing crazy things. Like, um, I did some escorting, unfortunately. I didn't know what to do. And I liked the money, and I didn't give a shit. I mean, I was doing cocaine a lot. I mean, how can you, I don't know. And I liked having I had a big lifestyle. I needed a certain amount of money to keep myself happy every month. And I was like, well, this is kind of like the way. And there was a bunch of other models in my agency that were kind of older that were also doing it. And I was like, well, you
It's a really
know,
prevalent space in that industry.
yeah. And so I was like, all right, well, so cool. I mean, there was a page called Seeking Arrangement in New York. And so that's where I found my sugar daddies, and I hanged out with some of them, and they helped me out, and I had fun, and the cool thing is you were able to pick with who you wanted to date, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like a dirty kind of thing. It was, you could pick the sugar daddy that you wanted to date. So it was kind of nice. But yeah, it was, I started doing that, and it got to a point where I started just going a little worse, and I started going to Mexico to do that. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm making all this money, but now I'm starting to feel dirty.
Mm.
I didn't like what I was doing. And so this is where I started kind of like, I reached the rock bottom. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, Bali? Like, you come from an incredible family in Costa Rica. My father is a big real estate celebrity here. And my mother was Miss Costa Rica. She's very well known here. I was a Costa Rican supermodel, or whatever you want to call it. And now you're doing this. And I was like, you really went down. I was like, I really started feeling embarrassed of myself, of what I was doing. And yeah, like, this is a big thing. Like, I mean, my parents are probably going to be pissed that I kind of say these things out in public, but you know what? I've always been the type of person, I just can't hide what I am or what I do. And I also hope that this story kind of helps other people. Um, and and I just hope that it helps some other people, understand and kind of, I don't know. Like I said before, I think life is to live to the fullest. If you fuck up good, fuck up good and just learn from it if you come out of the mistake, right? And I'm learning from my mistakes, right? And so I did, and I realized that I was not in a good space, and I was doing a lot of cocaine, and I was like, okay. And then a friend popped in from Costa Rica in New York, and he was like, like I'm selling vegan products in Costa Rica. I'm importing, and I was like, oh wow, that's a great thing. And I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what to do because I had been a model since I was 16 years old. I didn't finish school. I didn't go to university. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I had no way to figure out like what I want to do next. Like, I don't know where to jump in. I don't know what I'm good at except modeling. So I was like, I was freaking out. It was like a crisis. And I remember I took some acid with a friend of mine, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be the decision maker. And actually it was like this trip was like, you need to go back to Costa Rica. And so I remember I was like, I felt relieved. I was like, all right, so I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm quitting all this escorting BS, and I'm gonna go and work doing selling vegan products with a friend in Costa Rica. And it just sounds amazing. And so I was like, oh, okay, wait a second. Okay, so I'm going back to Costa Rica where there's a ton of cocaine, top quality and very cheap, and you want to go back? No, I can't go
Mhm.
back if I don't work on myself, or I'm gonna end up worse, right?
You had
So
hit all your edges. Everything was touched.
exactly. And so I was like, oh damn, all right. So I was in New York, it was October 2017, and I was watching Gaia. I've been subscribed to Gaia. I mean, I've learned so much from Gaia. And I don't know, like some documentary about some shaman like came up. I remember it was called Shamans of the Global Village with Octavio Rettig. And I watched it and I was like, oh, that's what I have to do. And basically, he talks about bufo being a medicine that helps addicts with very strong chemical substances. And I was like, well, that's perfect because I don't believe in rehab. I know rehab is not going to fix someone that has been doing blow for 20 years. So, I mean, this sounds more like something I could do. And
Right.
so I actually found this shaman on Facebook. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, awesome. Like, I need help. I'm addicted to cocaine and tobacco, like nonstop. And so he tells me, just come over for a weekend. And I'm like, awesome. Okay. I didn't know anything. He didn't prepare me. He didn't tell me anything else. Like, what do I
No.
have to take? What do I have to do? I didn't know anything. He was just like, come for a weekend. I was like, I booked my ticket, and I actually booked my ticket a week earlier. And I partied the whole week because I thought it was going to be the last time I did cocaine. So I did cocaine for 5 days straight. I didn't do alcohol. I never did alcohol. Never liked alcohol, but I did cocaine, and I probably threw some like opium or ecstasy, or I don't know. I had a friend, he was a dealer, and I just stayed at his house for the whole week as a friend. And so I just partied my butt off for the whole week saying, this is the last time I'm gonna do blow. So I gotta, do it hard and say goodbye. And let me tell you,
I was about to
uh,
say that
big,
come down and that experience was probably way more intense.
big mistake, big mistake. And so um it was a Thursday, and I had to be at the shaman's house on Friday, and I had partied blow for 5 days straight. I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, and I get to his house, and there's a lot of people waiting their turn, and I'm kind of there, and they actually give me combo. They put combo on me. I didn't feel anything. I just felt a little like heart palpitations and a little heat, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't purge. I didn't anything.
Wow.
And then I wait for my turn, and okay, so it's my turn. And I'm like, I have this huge ego, right? Because I mean, I've taken trips and acid, and I had done, GHB, I had done crack, I've done everything, just not heroin, but I took all drugs you could possibly imagine. So I have this big ego, and I'm like, what is this guy gonna give me? Right. So he's like, okay, so this is the buffo, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be a trip, okay, all right, cool. No, hello. I smoked that thing and it just sent me to the darkest hole of my life and it beat me up. I remember, all I remember is I was like a molecule this big and someone was beating me up. And I remember seeing like the dimensions kind of like melting in purple like this. And I was just all black and I felt like I was dying and I felt like I was fighting with dying. Like I mean, the shaman said I was purple. He said I was purple, like the probably like they started blowing rapé into my nose to try and make me come down because I was like purple and like this all contracted. So uh I don't know. I had to smoke that thing like 6 times the same day. So believe me, it was the biggest fight for my life ever. I had
Mm,
never felt like I was gonna die ever, ever, ever. This was the scariest freaking moment of my life. And so I seriously, as soon as I recovered after the last time, I got up pissed off and I shouted at the shaman. I was like, what the fuck? Like I almost died. Like I'm seriously pissed. And I called a taxi. I was so pissed off because there were no taxis. This shaman's house was so far away from everything. And there's no taxis. And I just wanted to leave. And I was pissed off. Like, oh, that's now that I look back, I'm like, those were my spiritual parasites pissed off.
yeah.
Uh, and basically, I just go back to the hotel and I literally crash. I had prepaid 2 days and I was telling, I didn't want to go back. I mean, I knew I couldn't go back because if I did go back again, my body's not gonna make it. I knew my body was so tired from like the 5 days of blow and now this. I felt the struggle, like I felt like I was leaving my body or something. And I felt black. I felt like I was going to hell or something. It was horrible. And anyways, I crashed, I ate and I crashed. And I obviously like I don't know like what happened, but I woke up at the shaman's house again the next day. I mean, the woman from the lobby, from the hotel lobby, she put me in the taxi or something. I had already prepaid the taxi to pick me up and everything. So I guess they all brought me out of the room and put me in there or something. I don't know. But I woke up. I mean, I could barely like walk. Like I was so exhausted. And they put me in the taxi and the taxi guy's like, señorita, we're here. And I'm like, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm at the shaman's house again. I wasn't gonna come here. And I was like, okay. So I've been doing cocaine my whole life, ever since I remember. And now, and I've tried to kind of kill myself or not like my life for so long. And now I want to pussy out of death after I've looked for it for so long. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. No one's waiting for me. I'm just gonna go die. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna confront it. And so I said, let's go, death. Let's meet each other. And so I went and I smoked that thing and this was a crazy experience. Like as soon as like I let go, like I smoked that and I let go, I was like, yeah, just take me. I had my vision open, like my vision open, and I saw my brain and I saw like my brain like get slit in the middle here and open up a lid. And then I saw all my brains in there having like an electric circuit. And then I saw my soul or my energy field kind of doing this electric circuit here, and they just jump out of my brain and blow out into the space or the sky or whatever. And it was the strongest, most non-human orgasm, the strongest thing you could possibly ever experience. It was traumatic. Like I remember I was having this orgasm and I was like, this is traumatic. This is so strong. It's traumatic. Like too traumatic, like too strong. Like you couldn't possibly feel that in a human body. It's just too strong. And so, anyways, I ended up in space, and I remember just being like this little ball, like this little yellow ball, like floating out in the universe, and I could see the whole spiral of the universe. It's like
Mm,
and out. And I was completely detached. And I had forgotten who I was, that I was having junkie problems or drug problems or whatever. I was just hanging outside looking at at the spiral of the universe. And then I don't know, like a bunch of photons of light just started kind of coming back. And then I opened my eyes and I'm back and I'm here and I'm like, ah, I didn't die. Oh my God. And so that was the first time in my life that I felt grateful to be here.
Wow.
And that experience actually caused me to have panic attacks for the rest of a year, and like the medicine would activate like if I tried, there were so many times I tried a little bit of like marijuana or something. I had a full activation. I panicked. They had to take me to the hospital a couple of times because I started seeing like the spiral of the universe open up in my like door and my roof. Seriously, like a psycho,
Your
like
soul was like, and we're done.
no, like I was hallucinating the whole medicine experience in my room, and I could see the spiral, and I thought it was gonna like swallow me again or something.
Oh.
So yeah, there was it was kind of scary, and it started giving me panic attacks, but something really strange happened. And I don't know what that medicine did, but it kind of like, so I did that in October 2017, and end of December 2017, I was already down in Costa Rica. And my dad had this beautiful, gorgeous farm in Alajuela. I don't know, it was like a 1 hectare farm he was selling. No one was there. So he told me, go live there. And so it had a huge pool, a bunch of dogs. And so I was like, this is like perfect. And I had just come off from this, and I don't know, just intuitively, I started meditating. And I had been a cocaine addict for so long, I didn't know how to meditate. I had never taken meditation classes or breathwork classes or any of this. So this was all very strange, but I don't know, it was 7 o'clock in the morning. I just started meditating. So I just like went down into the breathing, and something happened. I just kind of became addicted now to the meditation.
Mm.
Now, all this time on the farm, I started meditating 4 or 5 hours straight, or even longer some days, and constantly, every day, same time, right in front of the pool, in front of the sun, and I would pray, and I started like, attracting all these like spiritual stuff on my Instagram, and I'm like, this is all weird. Like, what is? And then I started seeing about Ascension and about and then I saw Dr. Joe Dispenza, and then I was like, oh wait. Like, okay, so I saw some things about spiritual stuff and synchronicities, and I started having these, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what is all this? All this stuff is new.
All the
Like,
traction.
yeah. And I was like, all of these like cool spiritual stuff, and then suddenly, like one day I come out to my meditation spot, like at the pool in front of the sun, 7 o'clock in the morning. And, I had been, the shaman told me, you need to continue doing medicines because you have a lot to heal, right? You're not going to be, you're probably going to relapse a couple of times. So what I started doing I would do blow every 3 months just for a weekend, and then continue doing plant medicine during that time. So I continue healing. And that's what I did for 2 more years until February 2020, which was the last time I did blow. Now 4 years sober, thank God. And
Yes. So much celebration.
yeah, and so but anyways, I was doing all this plant medicine work, okay, and then I was meditating, not knowing either what meditation would do or what plant medicine work could do to me. I had no idea. Okay, it's like I jumped into this world without knowing what things could happen. And like I said, I never did meditation, never did, I did do yoga, but not meditation. So I didn't know that meditation could give you a spiritual awakening. And so,
Oh, yes.
oh my God, this was the biggest thing. And then one day, like I said, I came out 7 o'clock in the morning to the same spot and meditate. And literally within the first 2 minutes that I sat down, I started feeling like a hot liquid come up from my coccyx. It was a hot liquid, and I was like just sitting in my meditation. I'm like feeling this hot liquid, and it's going up my lower back all the way up to my neck, and then it goes all the way into my third eye, and it's like a splash of light, almost like, yeah, like a splash of light. And then I start seeing, it's almost like I had my eyes closed, but I could see. So it's like I was able to see with my eyes closed, like, so I was like crazy. And then I start seeing the blue sky, right, with my eyes closed in meditation. And I start seeing the left eye of Ra come down and go through me. And then I saw a rainbow, a full rainbow come down and go through me. And it was like the most like ecstatic or beautiful experience I had ever had. And I was sober. And I was like, oh my God. But then I got scared because immediately after the rainbow, I saw three ET faces, like just like floating in front of me. And I freaked out and I panicked and I stood up. And but after that day, I was never the same. It's like I blew open my third eye.
You had a
And
Kundalini awakening.
I had a full on and I didn't know what it was. The thing is, that's the problem that I had. If anybody would have told me what I was going through, I would have calmed down, but I didn't know what it was. And this started creating a lot of stress. First, because I was detoxing from 20 years of cocaine. So that was already stressful. Second, I was doing a lot of plant medicine work. So much so that I started making it a business and I started building retreats and doing that. So from 2018 till to 2020, I had a retreat business, like a plant medicine retreat business, but I was also cleaning myself up. I wasn't perfect yet. And so I was doing all this and now I have this spiritual awakening. I didn't know what it was. And I start having like strange beings come to me every single day, either when I close my eyes sober or when I was sleeping. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia because every night, either a fairy or a dwarf or an angel or an ET, I was abducted 3 times, would come and do something. And or sometimes I remember one ET, they came into my brain, they were doing something inside my brain and it freaked me out. And then another one did something inside my stomach. And anyways, I started freaking out. I seriously thought I lost it. I didn't know who to ask for help. And then the pandemic hit. And then that's when I got sick from my stomach. And then now I understand I got sick from chronic stress, like high levels of chronic stress.
Yeah.
So simply not knowing what I got myself into. I mean, just pure ignorance. But it has been magical experience. I mean, I am a very strong person. I mean, I guess maybe that's why I went through it this way. But and like I said, I always like extreme stuff and difficult situations. So
You took the route every time.
so I guess that's why I went through it. I mean, I have to say the hardest thing about this has been healing and finding the right doctors here in Costa Rica that understand what I'm going through. Like none of them understood. Like the first 2 years were, but and then again, I got sick in 2020. And it was not from COVID, but basically so much stress because I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. I was having
Your
panic attacks.
nervous
I
system was
couldn't go to a
shot.
doctor and tell a doctor, listen, I'm seeing ETs, I'm being abducted. I'm like, people are going to think you're crazy. And I didn't even know if I was crazy or sane. So it was very, very hard, but I had so many magical experiences. I mean, I did meet some like guides or ETs that I felt like knew for forever. Like it was like the biggest love to meet some of them. And I was like, oh my God, like I missed you so much. Where have you been? You know?
Yes. Soul
And
family.
yeah, and I remember one of those ET abduction things I had. They came to me and they told me that I come from a race of tigers. So I mean, that's all I was able to get from them. They told me, you come from a race of tigers. That's all I got, I guess. And they also told me that I was gonna have to work on my ego. And then I had that other abduction of an ET doing something in my stomach. I don't know if they did this to me on purpose or I did this, or maybe actually they gave me that dream so that I would understand that something that was happening to my stomach was gonna happen. In the end, I feel like they did help me. Like in a way, they told me like something's going on in your stomach and your ego and all this. And yeah, I mean, now that I look back, I never felt like I was human. I think I never felt as human as I am now because I'm sober. Um, I have compassion. I had never suffered before in my life, and now I know what it's like not to have health.
Yes.
Now I feel sorry for people that are sick, people that have lost a leg, people that have, like I never felt that before. Starting to learn what it's like to be a human. It's like I'm a baby, like
Yeah.
I'm learning little like small like lessons that maybe you've learned back when you were young, but I couldn't learn them because I was always on cocaine or kind of running away from feeling and so yeah, it's been kind of heavy, but so many magical experiences. And I learned that dreams are my way of connecting with what's going on subconsciously and in the higher realms. And
Beautiful.
I understand now that, I mean, I have dreams all the time that are kind of premonitory or that kind of let me know that something's going to happen. Like I have that happen all the time, all the time. And I'm learning, I'm obviously seeing how like my psychic abilities are opening up.
I love
And that's very cool. Sometimes I get scared and right now I have to be very careful because I'm still regulating my nervous system. I don't want to scare myself too quickly. I mean, I want to heal completely. Believe me, I want my body back. Um, and I want my powers back because I know that when I had that Kundalini, I had like 2 years of bliss. And anyways, I studied a little bit about what the Kundalini was. I read Bonnie Greenwell's books
Yeah.
and other people, right? And apparently you have a Kundalini, and the first, like, I mean, it depends how long you keep that energy without something happening, but usually you have like the state of bliss at the beginning. I mean, it took me 2 years of bliss. It was like I was in ecstasy. I felt like Buddha, Gandhi, Jesus, like nothing would stop me. I mean, I even thought, man, like if I get run over by a truck right now and die, I'm probably gonna die happy, just because I was in such a high vibrational state because of that Kundalini. Um, but then I learned that after you go through that heightened state where you kind of your mind gets so enlightened that your body your body has to catch up and cleanse. So then you go through the cleansing phase or the purging phase, as they call it. And
Yes.
and so I'm purging from cocaine, from Kundalini, from everything. And it was this two most horrible first years of my life. And then I had that dysbiosis, the intestinal dysbiosis. And apparently, from what I hear, I mean, plant medicine also kind of changes your chemistry, especially if you're using it for cleansing from drugs.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it kind of does change your chemistry. And so, I mean, it makes sense that if I have had an intestinal dysbiosis, it was also because of all the change that I was causing in my body, because I was changing character,
Yes.
changing skins. So yeah, that's pretty much kind of like what my life has been. And then the last 3 years has just been like, obviously dealing with COVID with, like very low immunity,
Mm.
uh, and try not to die. I try not to die while all of that happened. I mean, I always got COVID so many times and long COVID and then like, I had very severe anemia because some doctors here, they couldn't find out like what I had. Um, and anyways, and this year I ended up because no doctor really they weren't like even my functional medicine doctor, she's like, well, I don't understand why you're not healing. And I'm like, well, you should know, right? You're supposed to know like why I'm not healing.
There's
And
so many stories, though, of people recently, I would say really since 2020, that it's like anomalies are walking into these offices, even of functional medicine doctors. And part of me really personally believes it's because so many of us are waking up to entirely different frequencies that what's happening at a cellular level is
doesn't
kind
make
of unexplainable in the medical world.
yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I guess you speak to more people that are going through these things because I mean, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think, and now I'm finding out that I mean, it's like I'm self-healing myself. I mean, I'm the one that discovered my cortisol level was off, and that's that's why I went back and I told my doctor, okay, doctor, so you kind of can't figure out like what's wrong with me. Well, let me tell you, I have a dysregulated cortisol level because I took a course this year with Primal Trust, which is Dr. Kath McKeon. Oh, sorry, I can't remember her last name, but she heals nervous system. And I learned that what I have is a dysregulated nervous system.
Yes.
So I have a dysregulated cortisol level. So why I'm not healing? Because my cortisol is off. So all you need to do now is treat me for that. We did the exam, and yes, I was all in red, terrible like cortisol curve.
Mm.
So now I'm getting it treated since November, and now I started feeling regulation symptoms. And now I know I'm finally on my way, and I'm gonna get my gut back and all these other like gut brain coherence like things, and I'm gonna get my health back now, and it's simply because I just had to listen to myself. I remember at the beginning of last year, my dad and my doctor were like, "You have to stop seeing things on internet. You're gonna drive yourself crazy because you're every day you think you have something new." I mean, because yeah, they were telling me, "Oh, your implants are causing you the Asia symptom, and that's why you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
healing. And you have this and you have that." And they were all thinking, "Oh, I have Lyme's disease." Yeah, I had all kinds of symptoms. I had Lyme's disease symptoms. I have POTS. They don't even know what POTS is here yet in Costa Rica. I had all these chronic symptoms, and they couldn't explain it. And then I started doing that course, and it's like, dude, heal your nervous system. That's it.
And
That's it.
that's such a baseline for so many people that they don't even realize. And our medical system, unfortunately, right now doesn't recognize that. And
Exactly.
it's that will cause it wreaks havoc on your whole system, entire system.
Yeah, especially since 2020.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Everything.
everyone's realizing they're like, oh, I actually am miserable in this space, or this doesn't work for me, or right? And I'm so grateful that 2020 happened for so many reasons, but people are waking up and like what you're doing, like they're researching because the beauty of the internet is that you can find so much.
Exactly.
And you find also what resonates, right? Like if you would have taken that course and nothing resonated for you, you wouldn't have gone down that path. But you're watching someone explain things probably that you're like, wait,
Yeah,
this is
that's
all
it.
me. This is all my stuff. And
Mhm.
then you find answers. So
Mhm.
I would love to know, thank you, first of all, so much for just like so vulnerably and so raw sharing you and just the incredible journey that you've been on. What is Bali doing now? Like, what are you? I know we're healing nervous systems. I know we're like really coming into like this remembrance of like you and grounding into that humanness. But what are kind of aspirations, goals? What are you wanting to step into here in like the next year or so?
Yeah. Well, I've I obviously have learned to be patient on my path. I never was. I mean, I did cocaine all the time. So I was always about like now, 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 no waiting, now. Now, I mean, after all this and obviously getting sick and learning to go step by step with my body, finally being gentle with my body, which I didn't know what that meant, um, has kind of just made me go step by step. I mean, I have goals of obviously finding my financial independence again. I mean, my father, I mean, obviously I was so sick I couldn't work. I mean, I have been working the past year and a half, like a normal job, sales and whatnot, but I kind of want to just get back my health, number one, get my
Yes.
financial, like my own financial independence and security again. And I do have plans of traveling to the spiritual places that I've been wanting to go, that I'm now guided to go, like Egypt. I want to go to Peru.
Yes.
I want to go to America to meet. I found that through my journey, I have a very strong connection with Native American Indians. And so I want to find them. I want to just go find them and meet them and um I don't know, be of service. And I have a calling. I do have a calling. I don't know if it's gonna happen. But I have a calling to become a plant medicine shaman. I do want to be one. And I know I'm kind of old, but maybe not. I don't know.
You're not too old for that path. I
Yeah,
totally
I don't know.
see
Like
that.
I don't know, like, some shamans start early and so they get to, learn a lot and go do the dietas,
Your
but
journey was your training, right? Like many shamans now, I think we have this belief system that shamans have to like take this certain route and they had to start here. And the beauty of I think what's happening right now in the remembrance of where people are is that there are so many incredible medicine practitioners and shamans who have just walked this path of life that is like all of the edges, like you talked about earlier, right? Like you had all this high, you had all this low, you hit all of these spaces. And ultimately, it came back to like ego death, Kundalini awakening, like plant medicine leading you home, right? Like you communing with your higher self. And now you're healing your humanness. So you are doing such a beautiful full circle.
mm,
That's training. Like your life has been your training.
I do feel like the last 3 years of like my health has been like a very strong spiritual initiation. I mean, I walked beside death all this time. And funny thing is, I did some. I opened a book from Jack Schwartz. I don't know if you know who he is, but I don't know. He's like an old author. He's dead now, but he's an amazing guy, and all his books are all about like he could see auras,
Hmm.
um, and he kind of like he had a gift. Like he basically could see auras since he was young. Like he didn't need training. He didn't need anything. You just see it. And so he made all these books about it. And anyways, he had some like really cool, like a tarot kind of like life numbers, whatever. Like you have to do this counting the numbers and then use the tarot, and it would give you like what your um tarot card or life purpose is through the tarot card. And mine was death. And I was like, ooh, that hit hard. And I was afraid of death. Like I was afraid of death. And then I also had a very strong dream with, I don't know if you remember Thanatos from Avatar, the
Yes.
the black panther who was
Yeah.
death. Again, like that being appeared to me in so many dreams, like death, 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 death. And I mean, I'm kind of learning that I need to embrace death, like it's kind of like in my purpose now that it kind of I understand. And so yeah, I kind of want to become a shaman.
I love
I want to work with Bufo actually and Kambo. I'm kind of called to those two medicines. But obviously I gotta go step by step first, heal my body
Yes.
first, make sure that I'm stable, because obviously I mean, I guess my story is gonna be able to guide people that, you want to do plant medicine the right way, knowing what it can cause, knowing the changes it can cause. And that's where I think I want to go. I mean, I mean, I have like a silly paper next to my bed and it says retrain your brain, you're going to become a shaman with a light body and a rainbow aura.
Yes, that is not a silly paper. That is visualization, intention, and manifestation. And everybody on this network is all about that. So completely beautiful. Thank you for your testimony. And I am so excited to see where you end up going with shamanism and leading people and your healing journey. And if people want to connect with you, if they, listen today and they're just like, oh my gosh, I need to like connect with her, how can people reach out and connect to you?
They can just send me a message on Instagram. I'm pretty open. I mean, just send me a direct message me on Instagram. That's kind of
And
I
what's your
always
Instagram handle so everybody knows?
my Instagram is Bali Rodriguez, all together, small letters.
Amazing. We'll post that down in the description as well. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining us and for listening. Bali, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here and being so vulnerable. And just this testimony, I know, is going to hit so many different spaces for so many different people. And so, I really, really appreciate you coming on and being on your first podcast here.
Blessings to everyone.
Yes, I'm so excited to see where you go. For those of you who are new to the channel, I hope you enjoyed the episode today. This was definitely a beautiful testimony for all of us to see this beautiful journey that Bali is on and honoring each of your spaces as well as you are coming into remembrance of who you are and remembering that death is actually a beautiful, beautiful card to pull from the tarot deck because it also means rebirth, right?
Yes.
So it's this embracing of the phoenix. So I love also that that's what you're embracing right now. For any of you guys who want to continue to hear more from incredible guests as well as myself, please subscribe to the network, to the Conscious Awakening Network, to the Brittany Reneé Experience. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Love everyone. Bye bye.